Finally.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I wasn't planning on playing this song, so I'll learn how to be a better DJ. Although John is probably loving this song. All right, so this is my first podcast. This is our first podcast.
Me too.
It's exciting.
All around.
I thought we would talk a little bit today. Also, let me just start by introducing ourselves. I am Vanessa Reiser. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the states of New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, founder of Tell a Therapist. And this is my business partner and friend and sister, V 2.0 in the his house. What's going on?
What's up? Nothing much. How are you?
Good. So I thought today, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to and stuff?
Yes, I am a certified life coach. I'm actually going to get certified internationally currently. I've been pretty much doing this my whole life and decided to make it a career path. It's something that is very near and dear to my heart. I've been through a lot in my life that's helped me shape and learn how to get the mindset that I need to build an amazing life. So I like to share that. I usually share it with the people close to me, and I decided to share it on a broader basis. So that's what I'm doing.
So V1 and V2 are currently working on developing what is going to probably end up being an award-winning life coaching program for recovery after narcissistic abuse, etc. There will be obviously a lot of tentacles and legs to this piece, but we're getting ready to launch that. It's going to be called Monarchs Coaching. Vanessa, get it? Monarchs, butterflies, queens, so fun. So I thought today we would talk a little bit about a few things outside of the narcissistic abuse and kind of whatever traumas we have experienced and whatever the hell we want to talk about, actually. This is just a wrap session for us. I know you and I have talked a lot about dating and like what that's been like and what a shit show the apps are offering and how sort of scary it is to try to navigate people that have, let's say, potential personality disorders, etc. But also, you know, not really feeling the vibe, not really loving the aesthetic. So let's just kind of talk about what's it been like for you as far as, you know, the dating world. What are your thoughts?
I guess the word honesty or being straightforward has been something that I run into a lot. I feel like everyone's always just trying to be something they're not or try to portray, you know, different things that they are. And honestly, it's just, I kind of wish I could just put out into the world, like, just be you, like, just be you. And, you know, just come to the table and bring what you bring. Like, the people that you meet on the other end are gonna, you know, there's a top for every pot, you know, and it's just a recipe for disaster to walk into something when you're not being real. I've learned that, and I've been able to, over the years, kind of weed through it. Not a pro at it, but I'm getting there. But it's just really, I feel like that's the main thing. Like, people aren't honest about their intentions. You know, either you want a relationship or you don't. If you're looking for one, great. If you're not, just be honest. You know, it gives the other person the option to say, hey, I'm in, like, let's do this casual thing. Or, hey, no, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a relationship. And you part ways. Like, and you can still stay friends. I mean, there's many people I've met and I've just become friends with and who I've set other people up with. And, you know, we're all human. We're all, you know, amazing in our own way. And I think we should just really put it out there and just shine what we have and just be honest. And I think that's what really a lot of it's lacking. I feel like people just go on there and it's like, they'll just tell you what they think you want to hear. And, you know, then you definitely find out that it's not true. So kind of where I see the biggest issue is, truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I have like 5 attributes that I'm looking for in a partner. Um, and I like these same attributes in my friends actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. Smart, funny, honest, which you just referenced, ambitious. So I'm just too old to be carrying, I did that thing where the boyfriend came to the house and did the laundry, and I'm over that. Connection, which I want to talk with TJ a lot about in terms of chemistry. He's going to school us on that, which I'm dying to hear. I have to get rid of this one because it's very vain. I'm not even going to share what it is. All right, I'll share what it is. I don't go shit. I always thought I wanted to date a guy who had hair. And I'm really learning. Vanessa 2.0 is teaching me how to let go of some of these vain, kind of silly issues that I've had, let's say with past interpersonal relationships that I'm maybe holding on to. So somebody who was bald wasn't particularly kind to me, and I've like sort of latched that onto that aesthetic. So I have to shift away from that and kind of open my mind back up because I'm probably robbing myself. So I just crossed it off. Just let the record show. I do want somebody who has kids. I think for me, that's sort of a priority because it kind of like highlights just that level of growth, that understanding that, that shared roads traveled kind of experience. So I'm really seeking that shared understanding. And that's it. What are some things, V, that you want to have in a partner?
It's funny because I think we had this conversation once and we were tweaking our list. I'm looking for someone who's true, genuine, smart, funny, and you say ambitious. Like, I need somebody who's a go-getter. I need somebody who's, going to be a partner with me. Like, I need to be on like this. We need to kind of be able to hold each other up when the other one's down. And I've been through the relationships where I've been trying to fix people, and be the one that's always like holding the other up. And after a while, like, it's exhausting and it's hard. And it's not that you don't care and love them, and it's something, that you don't want it to be, but at the same time, like, you never can fall. Like, you never have that. You always have to be the strength and the pillar, constant. So I've always been one, I guess, because I'm an empath, I've always gone towards, the helping of people and being the nerd, I'll fix them and help them out and get their life in order. But at this point in my life, like, I want somebody who's got their life in order and wants to like move forward. So I have pretty much a lot of the same things that you have on your list. I really go for the internal. Like, I just need like the morals, the values, like someone who's just authentic and is just real. So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it sort of like parlays us right into the narc abuse conversation rather quickly, because alternatively, you can meet a character who's dishonest. You can meet a character who literally will take you for a ride. And as empaths, as people pleasers, as approval seekers, we are vulnerable to that without really hard boundaries. And so as we navigate dating now, it's definitely one of those things where we have to pay attention to the red flags, pay attention to maybe things that we in the past would have like poo-pooed, like, oh, whatever, maybe he meant this. And now it's just like, I don't know about all that. I'm not trying to invest, 12 years of trauma and therapy into, I don't know, he might have meant that. Like, fuck out of here. Let's just move on. There's no time to waste with bullshit. If somebody hasn't done, here's a good one. What about, do you want somebody who's done work on themselves, that has been in therapy, that understands and is insightful and sort of has studied themselves and has self-awareness? Because I think with that comes like a level of maturity.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I want someone who wants to grow. I want someone who wants to dig deep inside, and like every day is a day for us to become a better version of who we are. And digging deep and even talking like to your friends or somebody who, just finding different ways and being open to change, because change is how we grow. We can't stay in the same place and expect to, mature or have our, inner being become, a better version if we're just sitting there doing the same things over and over. So yeah, I think, therapy, life coaching, and even like doing it on their own, self-help books. I know a lot of people, I mean, I've never spoke to a therapist, and I've been through a lot of things in my life, but I was able to, read, dig inside, meditate, go on spiritual workshops, different things that made me see life differently and had a like my mindset, change the mindset. So I definitely want somebody who is willing to work on themselves anyway, that works for them.
I've definitely done both. I've done a shit ton of therapy, started at the age of 25 for all kinds of stuff in my family, major issues, major mental illness. I mean, you name it. And then did life coaching also. And I found them both to be tremendous resources. And here's what I think. I think the thing that's cool about the clinical piece is that's going to do the psychodynamic and dig a little around, like, well, how did you get here? Why are you the way you are? So you can kind of really look at your social systems and go, okay, this is why this person behaves like this. And, I was bullied, or I was eating to get fat so that I wouldn't be molested anymore. Right. So to just very specifically like insulate and like create a barrier. And that developed into eating disorders or trauma with OCD, and like how that came to be. And then the life coaching piece was like how to kind of take it to the next level, right? So like, okay, this is how we got here. We have a full understanding, which I personally need. I need to understand, like when I worked for the phone company, I would, bring dial tone everywhere. But I was like, where does it come from? Like, I don't understand dial tone. What the fuck is dial tone? Like, what does this mean? Right. So like, I was always like very curious. So I always need to know like what's happening. And then now that I know what's happening, how can I make it better? And I think the life coaching piece really offers that next level, like homework. Like, we're not going to just sit here and talk in circles around how you got here. Let's now talk about how to unget here. So I think they're both tremendously valuable. And that's why I'm so excited to be working with you and all the stuff that we're doing, because I really see it holistically. I see them as both having tremendous value. There's no denying either one of them. And certainly both combined, it's like a powerhouse. I'm really excited about it. Do you think that there are going to be, what are some of the things that you foresee as being challenges?
As far as coaching?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
As far as coaching, tell me about how you think it's going to be working with me. I mean, besides the fact that I'm a total psychopath, I'm just kidding, a little. But so what are some things that you think will be challenging as far as, people who have been through trauma and kind of, some of the triggers or stories that, we're going to be hearing from people?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of, as we all know, there's a lot of traumas that people face in their life. And everyone's trauma is different. They handle it differently. And I think that it really all, I mean, it's difficult to have someone, we always blame, when anything trauma related happens, we always blame ourselves. We're not good enough. Why me? Like, did I not eat right? Did I not? I mean, I'm a cancer survivor. So I learned quickly when all this was going on. I had a daughter who was 3 years old at the time when I was going through it, and going through a divorce at the same time. So I quickly learned, like, I couldn't do the, like, pity me, like, oh, why me? Like, it happens quickly. And then I just had to, like, turn everything, because we get stuck in that of either a why me or I wasn't good enough. It's always like, we're trying to find answers, and we get so wrapped up in that. So I think what's going to be the most like difficult and the most challenging is getting through people in a way to let them understand that first and foremost, this has, like, you need to look at these things that have happened to you and kind of understand that it's not you. It has nothing to do with you as the person. Things happen outside us. There's things all around us that always happen. It's really a mindset on how we see the things that we're, that are in front of us, that we're dealing with, that we're, being dealt with. And we all have strength inside us. It's just a matter of tapping into it. And we don't even realize we're using it until after we're done. Because you look back and you're like, how the heck did I do that? Like, I got up in the morning, like, so the small little things, like, and just making it aware. But it's hard with the whole trauma thing. We have a good dynamic because we do bring two very important pieces to the program, meaning you have the clinical piece that allows people to see, like you said, how did you get here? And then the coaching part of it is now we're going to build you, and so that you have the confidence, right? So the 3 C's.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the confidence, like, people, that's the number one thing. People that have gone through trauma or bad times in their life or almost anything, it's the confidence. Even growing, people lack confidence. I mean, there's times I'm like, oh God, I have to do this right now. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for it. Like, and then I just, usually Vanessa will be like, just go do it. But there's certain things. It's that confidence is a big thing. And, I think that we also often we try to throw love to everyone else and we don't love ourselves. So that's a big problem. And that's where I think a lot of the issues stem from too, is like self-love. So trying to teach someone how to love themselves, like whoever teaches you that, like no one ever says, like, you give out so much love. And I read a quote this morning, you've loved so many other people and so many of the wrong people. Like, imagine if you put all that love into yourself and actually accepted yourself and thought about yourself the way you think of the people that you love. So I think I think the difficulties we'll run into are things like that. I think that it's going to be, and even now when I deal with, clients, I mean, it's hard to break through that because we're so used to a cycle of how we think. And for so long, I mean, even in your 20s, I mean, I have clients that are 20, like, they have to break a cycle. It's a cycle of thinking about the way they think, their whole mindset. So that's the challenging part, I think, out of all of it.
One of the things that I notice with clients that are specifically narcissistically abused is that they are being groomed and confused for such a steady period of time that they ultimately lose that sense of self if they ever had it. And if they never had it, they never develop it. So the partners with a narcissist who are, let's say, long-term, or the children of a narcissist that have experienced this abuse, the psychological abuse, for so long, they have a stunted self-esteem. And when you ask them, so in CBT and cognitive behavioral therapy, when we work on cognition and self-esteem, if you ask them to come up with things that they like about themselves, oftentimes they will deliver, but they'll be things like, I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I'm understanding, I'm kind. And these are all things that are contingent upon another's experience of you, and they're not sort of about you per se. So things like funny, smart, I have a nice ass, almost narcissistically thinking. You have to sort of develop that in them so they can become empowered and like give themselves permission to accept help from others, to love themselves, to develop a sense of self that is separate from others. So you can kind of pick up pretty quickly on people that are codependent based on their answer to that question. So, you know, what are 5 things? I mean, sometimes people can't come up with any. And there's always like this moment where you kind of can tell how, almost like that's a gauge for me, like how much damage has been done. If you can't come up with any, that's a problem. If you come up with all 5 and they're all understanding, like loving, caring, I'm like, okay, so I try to like coax, because I don't want to be like, you suck, you don't know it. Like, I'm always like, all right, well, you said that you're caring. You know, do you care about yourself, or are you, or I'll say something like, didn't you just tell me you got your degree, so you're smart? You know, I'll try to like find things and develop things to kind of like build up. But yeah, it's specific to narcissistic abuse, or any mental abuse or any physical abuse, the trauma, you'll find that clients really have a hard time getting there with the self-esteem. It's really, really challenging. Especially, it's actually better for them if they had a sense of self and lost it. But if they never had a sense of self, let's say they married their partner at 18 and they never did sort of get out, you know, and like be on their own and like feel empowered. Now you really have to, then it becomes a thing where, all right, let's talk about your hobbies. Let's build mastery. What are you good at? What are you interested in? I don't give a shit if it's bird watching. Like, let's get you confident around something, like something you've never even tried. What are you curious about? And like, then we kind of build it out from there. But I mean, those clients are particularly kind of at a deficit. So I think the younger ones are probably the worst, and probably even like the older ones. Somewhere in the middle is probably like savable.
True.
So the narcissistic stuff, I know that you and I have both experienced this personally too, and I know that that helps us in how we kind of work with clients, because as you know, it's like you go through a portal. Nobody really understands until they go through it. And we've been through it in a variety of different ways. What are some things that you kind of would want clients to know about the narcissist?
Well, I've been doing a lot of extra thinking about this topic. So basically, I always say this, and I've had people come to me that have been with narcissists, left a relationship, in the middle of leaving a relationship. The one thing I always start off with, and I say it lovingly and kindly, is, and it's hard. This is a hard pill to swallow, so it's very delicate. But they need to understand that this person, whether it's a romantic relationship, a sibling, a friend, a parent, they don't love you. And it's not, and I know it's a harsh sentence, but they don't love you, not because they choose not to love you. They don't know how to love. So they don't have the ability to love you. So when you are trying to figure out, why are they being like this to me? Why would they do this to me? Because it's always the why. And that's what gets us caught up and so upset and hurt and just destroyed. They don't love you. And once you can understand that and you can kind of digest that, then you can heal, because you can't heal thinking that someone who loves you, why are they doing this to me? Why would they treat me this way? And I always say, and it took me a while to get myself to this spot, is that I look at people, when they do things to hurt me, I finally say to myself, that's who they are. It's not who I am. You know, like that's them. That's them as a person. And, you know, like the narcissist is a tricky thing, because you have to understand, and I've told a few people this over the last week or so, you've always been in that relationship alone. So all the good times that you've had, kudos to you, because it was you having those good times by yourself. So imagine how amazing that is. Like, that's how amazing and fun you are as a person. You know, they were just a body that was there. They weren't the ones that, you know, you were there, you were feeling the real experiences, you were, you know, making it what you wanted it to be. it's a stage for them. It's a show. They have their script, they repeat it constant, it's over and over. The older they get, the better off they become as a narcissist. And it's really, it's something that you need to kind of step back and look at as a whole, because they're not, the way we think is not the way they think. We're just there. If we're going to give them a good time, great. If they're going to argue with us and fight, it's all about the oxygen too. That's the other thing. Like, when you can't get through to a narcissist, it doesn't matter how you have a better chance of speaking to a tree and getting a response, or even getting the tree to even think the way you think. They just don't. You can't get through to them in like a way that a healthy brain or someone who's not a narcissist would be able to sit there and understand and have empathy and compassion and understand how you feel and what's happening. They're just, it's just a sad thing, because you'll never understand the way they think. And when you do, then you know what? You're pretty much right there on the level with them. It's just, you can't, like, their oxygen is even arguing. Like, they love to fight. Once you cut off their oxygen, and their oxygen could be attention in any capacity, they change. They stop. They stop behaving the way they do with you, because they're not getting what they want. So it's kind of like a little child. Child keeps asking for something, and they say, no, you're not getting it. And what do they do? I'm going to run to daddy. Okay. So then they never run to daddy, because now they got to find somebody else to get them what they need. So, and the narcissists, they are similar to a child in ways of that nature. I always say, like, they act like they're 5, and I've heard that a lot. Everyone, associates their narcissist of acting like they're 5. And I just, those are the things that I kind of always touch upon, and I'm touching upon them very quickly, but that's usually what, a few things that if you can kind of understand that, you're a little bit ahead of the game. Just because, like the fighting, like, it's like a pit bull, I call it. Once they sink their teeth into you, they're just going to keep until you just, give up. Like, they won't let go if you're giving them what they want. So,
and it's so interesting
because of things
in our culture, it's obvious to anybody who has been through narcissistic abuse that people do not understand narcissism. They think it's a sexy word. They think it's funny. They think that it means selfies. They think that it means somebody who's, loving themselves. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And I resent the DSM-5's diagnosis, because to me, it is a spectrum of psychopathy. I see this as like a psychopath who happens to be very charming, and maybe won't kill you. That's literally the only difference that I can find. And that sort of language needs to kind of come out. This is somebody who is oftentimes a cult leader. This is somebody who is oftentimes good at business, because they will be less interested in the little guy and sort of trample over everyone to get ahead. And I always say 1 in 4 CEOs is a psychopath directly. That's the data, because they don't give a shit. So they're going to climb. It's no problem for them to lie, cheat, steal to get ahead. But that kind of the concept of like the deviancy and like how dangerous they are is not well known by people. They don't understand the real sort of the nature of the beast. They just don't get it. They think like that this is, that women or anyone being abused by the narcissist is either bitter or confused or traumatized or sad or something like this. But the truth is that we're sort of screaming from the mountains because there isn't enough attention, I don't think, paid to just the level of deviancy. I mean, it's like having your soul raped and like watching the rapist sort of prance around the earth. And that's why so many people, let's face it, 85% of narcissists are men. And that's the data. It's between 83 and 85. And so a lot of the women that are being narcissistically abused, as you see them sort of screaming about it, it's because it's not well understood. Unless you go through this trauma, you just don't know. You're imagining a meaning that's completely wrong. The DSM-5 does not do a good job. I don't care. It just doesn't. The same thing with antisocial. They changed the sociopath diagnosis to antisocial. When you hear antisocial, what do you fucking think? You think this person isn't social. Antisocial means I'm going to kill you while you're sleeping. I mean, Scott Peterson was antisocial. He was a sociopath, right? Charming guy. Ted Bundy. I mean, you know, the people who you and I have dated are diagnosed sociopaths. They're diagnosed antisocial. Antisocial is a word that is wickedly misunderstood, just like narcissism. When you're a psychopath, all of a sudden you go, oh shit, this person might be dangerous. But it is really worth mentioning that a lot of our work is going to be like creating and providing psychoeducation for people to understand just what the fuck this means. And that's why I'm going to run the state of New York in a wedding dress, because I don't think people understand what's really going on. And I feel like this is like the perfect platform for you and I to sort of scream from the mountains, like, this is what's going on. Come to us. We're going to fix you. But also, you know, if you're not being narcissistically abused and you have a friend who is, and they come to you, they go, this person who you think is so charming and wonderful is a hazard, believe them, because you know, all of these people, famously, poets, priests, and politicians have been pedophiles and have had, you know, deviant behaviors throughout the years. So it's so important to kind of believe people too. So on a macro scale, it's like, you know, this is a problem. On a micro scale, we're here to help you. But I think we're kind of coming from both angles. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. I just also wanted to touch base on, if you are in a narcissistic relationship, or in a narcissistic relationship, getting out of one, or anything you are going through with a narcissist, it's good to talk to friends and family. It's good to talk, but I always say that you need to speak to people or be around people, whether it's a support group. I mean, a support group is a great thing too, that have experienced it as well, because your loved ones, you know, they don't understand what is going on. They don't understand what happened behind closed doors. They don't know how it would even feel. They can't wrap their head around it because they weren't in this crazy house of horrors, as Vanessa and I call it. You know, the mental, you know, there may not even be physical abuse, but the emotional, mental abuse is far worse, because there's scars that no one sees. There's things that people don't see it when they look at you. Like, you know, you look at someone and you think, like, would you look at me and say, oh, this girl's, you know, been with a narcissist, she had cancer? No, because it's things you don't see. You know, it's not like I have my arm in a cast, or I just had major surgery and I have like a bandage on my head. Like, it's stuff that's not, like, people can't see it. So when you do speak to your family and friends, like, you know, I had a good friends of mine, and they were always like, oh, but he loved you, you're such an amazing person. And I would stop them and I would say, no, he didn't. He's a narcissist. He doesn't love. Because in a normal person who hasn't experienced a narcissistic relationship, they feel like, oh, well, this person's a good person. Like, of course, that, you know, he had to love her, you know, like, he had to, you know, you're amazing. Like, but no, that's not how it works. They don't see that part of people, like the narcissist. So my suggestion, and I always say this, find someone who has either been in it and knows about it, or has, I mean, actually experienced it is probably the most important thing, because they're the only person who's really going to be able to, like, understand where you're coming from, and not, you know, sugarcoat. Family, you know, they want you to feel better. They still aren't going to understand it. So my biggest thing, and I always say to people, you need to find somebody, and even if you're going, you know, for professional help or anything, you need to find somebody who understands what you're talking about, and they don't just go by a book that they learned or something. And I say that with anything. It's not even just because there's nothing like going through the experience. When someone's been through the experience of anything, they can tell you about it from beginning to end because they've experienced it. But if you read about it, you don't really know as much. You know, like you can't really like really connect with that person and get them to a point of, I got you. Like, I know how you felt. That trembling inside, I got it. Like, and that's,
And
nobody can understand it.
Right. And I think that that's true in so many different parts of our lives, right? So like,
yep.
When it comes to systemic racism, I take a seat, TJ teaches me, Black people teach me, people of color teach me, and I try to do that with anything. So if I have a situation where I want to tell you about what it feels like to ride a bicycle and you're not a cyclist and you start running your mouth about why don't they ride in a single file, I'm always triggered because my thing to you is, do you ride a bicycle? If you don't ride a bicycle, you don't know what they're trying to get around. I always let the professionals teach me. I don't know shit about nursing. If I'm in the room with a nurse and she starts to tell me, you don't know what it's like because sometimes the patient might bite you, I'm not going to be like, but you should have chose a different career. I'm going to stay the fuck quiet. I'm going to say, my thing is, in life, we need to start believing people and not be so quick. I don't know if it's the social media world where we feel like we could just chime in and we're all like, we're all professionals. We all know everything. Like, the truth of the matter is like some stuff you might be really good at. Some stuff you don't know shit about. There's plenty of shit I know nothing about. I don't go running my mouth. Like my brother, he comes over and he builds me a deck. I'm not like, are you doing the measurements right? I can't add 2 and 2. I mean, math is not my thing. So, like we all have strengths. It's important for us, on a macro scale to sort of understand when to listen to people. Like we don't all know everything. Like, and that's part of the problem here is everybody's just like, yeah. It's like, you know what? Take a moment and believe people when they tell you things. Like, listen to people, understand what they're telling you. I think people are so quick to sort of like want to like chime in and be like, oh, this is my perspective and me. It's like, you know what? Have you developed mastery around this subject? Then shut the fuck up because you don't know what you're talking about. I can't tell you how many times I hear people go to chime in around certain things. Like, it's okay to be quiet. Like, just be quiet. You don't know, like everybody's got an opinion on everything, I feel like these days. So it doesn't help the cause, right? Because like this is one of those really insidious situations where it's super hidden and it's super hard to detect. So like everybody, well, he loved, like, no, you don't know that he loved me, right? And so just to add a little flavor to the love thing, in my practice, there are narcissists that I treat that talk to me about how they have a deficit here, how they don't experience this, how they also kind of giggle about it. Like it seems like something they're not particularly interested. It really reeks to the narcissist of weakness. There's something about love and empathy that they not only don't understand, as you referenced, they're not particularly interested in it because it seems to be something that like a pussy would do. So like they kind of have like, oh, that's cute. So not only do they not understand, they're not really interested. It's like almost like for them, like what you don't know is what you don't know is what you don't know. So they don't understand the benefits of that connection. And so they have no interest in it, because to understand love is to have interest in it because it feels so good. And that, as you know, there's different kinds, like the love you might have for your child or your pet or a family member, but also for an intimate partner. They are robbed of that in every single way. Everything when it comes to children, parents, they don't have that. There are different theories around how that came to be, including trauma and biological components. But I don't like to go too much into how the narcissist got here because it gets a little bit too much into like a sympathy for them that I just don't have time for, because the data tells us that they don't change. If they did change, like a bipolar person, like bipolar meds, boom, done, out the door. Let's go. Life is good, but not with these personality disorders. There's no data. So with that in mind, the only, that's where the no contact comes from. It's like, you got to run. You can't really dance unless you're co-parenting. And then you have to do the low contact, which is fucking wicked hard. I know that we've been co-hosting and co-moderating these support groups for people dealing with that. What has your experience been there?
Well, it's been a while for me when I've been through what I've been through, but it's to see all these people who have been pretty much like tortured and their soul just ripped out. I mean, it's truly, and they can't. Not only did that happen, but now if they have children or they're going through a divorce, they need to try to keep their head above water. Like, it's one thing when you go through a divorce and it's, two regular people, they fell out of love, or, maybe somebody like cheated or was not honest or whatever the case is. But it's a whole another level when that person is a narcissist, because you just wake up one day and it's like, poof, my whole life is a lie. Everything they told me about where they went to school, what they did when they were in college, all those nights at dinner when you had talk about when you're growing up in your career, and you come to find out that everything they've ever said to you wasn't true. So you're building this world that's a complete lie, and it's gone in an instant. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow and to even put your brain around. I mean, and now you're going through a divorce and or you're going through an illness, or you're going through, it's like, after a while, it's like, how do you keep your head above water? And these support groups that we do, a lot of them, one of the ones that we have are parents. So you have children involved. Now you have to be a parent. You have to just deal with all the craziness that's going on and try to figure out how to understand what's happening, because it's, you're just kind of like starry-eyed. You're like, just like you got hit over the head with a bag of bricks. And now you're going through a divorce. So like, how do you even know? And who knows about a divorce unless you're an attorney that, practiced it? Like, you're going through it blindly, hoping that whoever your attorney is carrying you through in the best, way possible. So there's a lot of things that go on. And when we do these support groups, it's, between Vanessa and myself, and even, amongst the people that are there, like, they all help each other. They all have bits of advice, they're pulling bits and pieces together from each other, because it's so new for them. So they can't see the bigger picture yet. They can't see where they're heading. They can't see that there's life at the end of the tunnel, because right now, everything's a shit show. Like, that's just how it is. I mean, there's no getting around it. You can't sugarcoat it. I always say, like, I know that you're in this hell right now, but it will get better with time. Time is one thing that makes everything else better. And once things start falling into place, it just kind of pulls you out of that starry-eyed place. So those support groups, I think, and that's why I said before, I think being around people who have experienced things that you've experienced, and for different time periods, people who've been, that dealt with it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 months ago, or going through it now. There's different stages of the healing and overcoming the trauma. So it's nice to be around in a group with people who've been in the different stages of it, because it's kind of, it's hope. It's actually hope for people who haven't hit that stage yet. So the groups, I think I love doing them, because I think it's a great hour and a half for people to actually come together and collaborate and, get answers and get that aha moment. And I noticed on one of the groups that Vanessa and I do, they actually come back the following week and they're like, I thought about, like, they actually, like, and they do, and they take what's said there and they apply it to what they're going through. And listen, I look at it this way: if I had to go through all this shit, there's a reason for it, and it's to help other people get through their shit. So My thing is that I always tell Vanessa too, like, find the good that came out of what you've been through, like, period. Like, there's good in everything that happens. You just have to find it. And I know sometimes it's hard, and I know that sounds so cliche, and some people may just roll their eyes and be like, oh yeah, whatever. But no matter what there is, there's always something good to come out. Even if you're able to find a better version of yourself, that's still something that, that's good that comes out of it. So, like I said, surround yourself with people that, that got you, that has a safe, a safe place, and can help you get to the next point you have to be in. And like I said, the groups are a great way to get to that next step that you need. So
yeah, I love that whole you always teach me so much about that. That's one of my favorite things, and I try to remind myself of that and my clients. I use that all the time now. Because it's so true. I mean, it's really easy to get caught up in the dark, angry, sad perspective after this kind of trauma. And so, finding reasons to celebrate and feel gratitude are like brilliant ways to kind of get out of that space. I think it's important. I'm always a proponent of experiencing anger. I think if we sort of don't, that we don't process things properly. There are different theories on this. In grief, for instance, we are not told to do much of anything other than what feels natural. So everybody is different in the way that they grieve. And similarly, the way you might experience anger, I tend to subscribe to the sublimation piece, which is like scream into a pillow, tear paper, punch a kickboxing bag, and sort of get it out of your system and then get out of there. If you feel like you can't get out of there, if you know your personality to be somebody who will fall into a space where you become depressed, if there's some reasons to believe that you have a history there, then don't go. But if you can kind of get angry, some people are really rather good at having a good cry and then like feeling better. Like I know for me, I can have a good cry and like laugh almost at the same time. Cause I'm like, I know for a fact that I'm purging something, that it's valuable for me. It's healthy for me to go there. And then I don't stay. But after, when you experience trauma too, the data tells us that you are more likely to re-experience trauma. Meaning if you're traumatized ever, you are more likely to experience trauma again. It's almost like your nerves are a little raw. And that's the way that you kind of go through life. And so, sometimes learning that about yourself and realizing that, you got to be kind and careful is a tremendous gift too. Like learning how to be careful about boundaries, be careful about who you let in and stuff like that. And that's a lot of what you and I are going to be working on with our clients, which is a lot of boundaries and learning what people really want, what they'll tolerate, why, and stuff like that. We're kind of coming to end of time. What did you think about today's experience, V?
it was great. I had fun.
Yeah?
We always have fun.
No, we do.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I've never done this before. I feel like it went pretty well. Was there anything that you wanted to add to the conversation?
I mean, I think we touched upon a lot. Like I just, the only thing I could say is if someone's ever in a place where they do feel alone and not heard or, not understood, just go online and Google just a support group, whatever, you're going through, whatever. There's groups everywhere, especially with social media. You could reach out to myself or Vanessa. You need to, land somewhere safely, and you need to be who can understand where you're coming from and gently guide you through whatever you're going through. So I'm a firm believer on, you need to flock somewhere where you'll be safe and have support. So that's
I want
how
to
I
just,
end my thing.
I want you to just plug your stuff. I know you have this amazing Insta world that you're developing, and you have that life coaching piece. So plug your stuff.
Yeah, I actually have an Instagram. You could find me at the Life Path 22. That's usually where I post all my daily inspiration and uplifting, motivational things. You can actually direct message me if you need me, DM me there, and any questions that you have, anything, I'd be more than happy to, help you and guide you any way I can.
Awesome. And coming soon is the Monarchs Coaching program that we have developed. We have a little more content in terms of video, but everything is sort of primed and ready to go. And I know it's been extremely rewarding to work with you, V. I'm like ready to cry because I just put on this song. Ready?
Yeah.
This is the song that I sent you today. But I'm gonna just plug my stuff. So Vanessa Reiser, teletherapist. And you can find me at teletherapist.net or email me at vanessa@teletherapist.net. But the biggest thing is going to be look for that Monarchs coaching, because I think that's going to be the next level stuff. And I am going to run the state of New York in a wedding dress in May. So please donate at teletherapist on Venmo or teletherapist.org. And that's it. Thanks, V.
Thank you.
All right, honey.
Bye.
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 All right, Tootsie, I'm going to end this.